going to be talking about, like I said, prospecting and schedules first, and then we'll go into negotiation. Some of the things that I really believe, if you guys were on my last class, I talked about this. I firmly believe in having somebody hold you accountable. So one of the things that we do on my team here is I personally coach all of my agents. And I'm not saying you have to get a business coach, but I am saying having somebody hold you accountable and your actions. A lot of agents, I think, wing this career. So they go after the career. They are like, great, I get to show houses. It's going to be fun. And that's the very beginning of what we do as agents. I think the core of what we do as agents really comes to light once we get a property that we're going to do a contract on. And as you guys mostly know, contract to close is probably the hardest part, depending especially on who your clients are. But how do you get that client to that point, right? So currently I have somebody in escrow that I worked with for 2.5 years. And that's pretty common. I do a lot of second home and relo. So some of those people can be 3 years out. And how do you get them keeping you at their forefront of mind when they decide finally 2 years from now that, hey, I'm ready to buy that home? So whether you're looking at, a 3-month period, that tends to be a little bit easier, a 6-month period or longer, I think that the communication and what you do as an agent to be forefront of what they think of when they think real estate. So jokingly, you'll hear me, if I'm around clients, I say many times, when you think real estate, I want you to think Torie. And I'll say it many times throughout when we discuss things. Oh, you thought real estate, your friend's buying? Did you think Torie? Did you talk about me? And I joke with them. But I have that relationship with clients that they know I'm there and I'm constantly in front of them. So when we talk, the very first thing that I really believe to be effective is a calendar. My agents hear me preach this because in all aspects of your career and your life, time blocking and time management is everything. It starts with being organized. So a lot of people, they're like, yeah, on my calendar, I've got that one showing, but they don't have everything blocked. So what I suggest you do, and again, my agents that are coached, they every morning, 5 a.m., they know, get me your schedules. They text me their schedules so I can look through them and just make sure that they're on point. And again, having that somebody, that you answer to. I personally am very, very efficient, and I make sure that I'm up usually somewhere between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. And then I'm on to schedule, and it's depending on the day, it's very long. Yesterday I felt like I needed 2 of me, but the only way I can be that efficient is by time blocking my schedule. So if there's things that you have that you want to personally get done, you should time block that first. So that goes in the morning. I think that, that early time, if you guys haven't read The Miracle Morning, it's a book that I encourage my agents to read. I think that it really shows you there's hours that are precious to us. And when you're operating on all cylinders, and we give so much, right? This career is a 7-day-a-week, all the time. You're always giving. So you need to block that time for yourself. I do that in the morning, 5 a.m. I've got my routine down, and to where by 6:37, I'm ready to hit the client schedules. I do have clients that are like, okay with me calling at 7 a.m., obviously 8 a.m. for most. But with time blocking, make sure you're updating your schedule and your calendar. Block your personal appointments, block your time to do your prospecting and time to do your follow-up. If you don't block it and it's not on your calendar, it's not going to happen. So if you said, hey, I have a doctor's appointment and it's June 15th, at 11 a.m. and you don't put that in your calendar, you're probably not going to show up to that doctor's appointment. There's too much that we do in a day that gets lost. So everything should be time blocked on your calendar. Specifically, you should have blocking for phone calls and follow-up. Some of my clients or some of my agents are big on social media. So we time block their social media where they're going in and they're actively doing things there to, again, generate that you're the person, that your face is in front of people. So first and foremost, let's talk about a CRM. If you don't have a CRM, I believe, Kelly, if I'm not mistaken, that My Home Group still has the ability to do a personal platform with Boomtown. Yes?
Yeah, we have Boomtown and conversion options for agents.
So look into that platform. There's many CRMs out there, but you need a CRM. Everybody should go into your CRM, even your sphere, and they should be tagged as such. The thing with the CRM is it's going to be your brain. When you get busy, my highest volume on my own without an assistant and showing agent, I did 24 million in real estate volume by myself, no assistant. And yes, I didn't have a life, and yes, my schedule was insane, but everything was time blocked, and my CRM was my brain. So when you're actively managing that many clients at one time, remember, I've got people that are 6 months out, I've got people that are 3 years out, and I've got people that are 30 days out. I have to be able to stay in front of them appropriately and not drop the ball, right? That's the one thing that you'll hear when people get busy is, oh man, I forgot. Well, you shouldn't forget if you have a CRM. If you put everything into that CRM and you tag appropriately, okay, this is a 30-day, this is a 60-day. We even did a tag for the coronavirus. So every client that was on hold for the coronavirus, as soon as things lifted, we were able to efficiently go in there and reach out to them and say, hey, Arizona's back open. Where are you at? How are you doing? Are you comfortable with this yet? And be able to reach those people, again, within 5 minutes or less, pulling that tag. So if you tag your 30-day, you tag your 60-day, you tag your 90-day, and then after that, you can do a 6 to 12 month, and you can do a 12 to 18 or a 12 to 24. There's tags that you can make, and this is in Boomtown, so each platform's different. I don't sell Boomtown, but I use it. I've tried a few CRMs. Boomtown for me has been the most effective. Again, every CRM is going to have their glitches, but the key behind a CRM is this should be your brain. During the day, I know it's old school, but I will literally keep a notepad with me at all times. That notepad has become my assistant. But if she's not with me, I have a notepad and I'm writing down things that I have to get done. Whether that be a client calls me and says, hey, can you pull this property and can we see that tomorrow at 11? That's being written down. It's going to go on my calendar as soon as I stop, right? If you're busy, a lot of it is going to be driving, right? That window time, you lose effectiveness if you don't have something to quickly write down and say, okay, I'm not going to forget this. So everything that is on that notepad, I accomplish, and then notes into Boomtown. If I know I'm driving and I just spoke to a client and I need to update my CRM, I'm going to write down briefly what I discussed. Now, for some of you, if you're not managing big profiles, you think, well, I only have 15 clients that I'm working with overall. That's still, you can still drop the ball. So even if you're not operating on a high level, if you do not have a CRM, you will forget something, you will drop the ball, and your clients will feel it. Your client should see, hear something from you a minimum of once a month, even if they're 3 years out. So there's a couple ways to do that. If they currently own a home, I like to put them on HomeBot, and I also set them up again through my CRM to be receiving a monthly update on their property value. I also send out a monthly newsletter. Now, again, you have to adapt this to what you guys are at with each of your careers and where you're at, but they should be hearing from you. People need to see you as the market expert. When they go to buy a home, if you haven't been in front of them, if you have not pitched yourself as being the person who knows this market better than anyone else and who is in it every day, and again, you can present that. Even if you're not showing homes all day long, you can show, oh gosh, I'm so excited I get to do this, right? Social media has been amazing because you can present to them, I'm out here in this market every day and I know it. It's one of the things I talk to clients about when I first discuss with them, why me? I am a market expert. I have data, I have facts, and I quote that. I don't just quote my opinion. So you guys need to be in front of people once a month. If they're actively looking and maybe they're just thinking, hey, I'm in California, I'm gonna buy next year, I don't know when. The thing is, again, build a relationship with them. And I say to them, that's excellent. You know what? Many of my clients can be 1 to 3 years out. I'm not going to pester you every day and say, here, do you want to see this property? Because I get that you're a year out. But what I do believe is that if I send you market updates with properties, I can send them weekly, I can send them monthly. You'll at least have a general overview of what this market is. So when you do go to buy, you see and you're comfortable with the prices and the neighborhoods, and we've narrowed that down. So a minimum of once a month. Social media, guys, it's free marketing. Why aren't you using it? If you're on there and you're not marketing through that platform, why not? So you see a post, a friend, a client, a something, they have a birthday, go in and wish them happy birthday. On that line too, I send out handwritten personal cards with a little $10 gift card in them for all my birthdays. Doesn't matter if they closed 3 years ago or if they closed a month ago, they all get birthday cards every month. Again, you're going to have to be efficient and be able to time block those, times to write the cards out, get the gifts. So if you have that on your calendar, the week before, usually the last week of the month, is when I prepare for the next month. Obviously I have staff to do that, but guys, this started because I used to do this all on my own, and I've built to a point where my staff has come on board. But everything that I am talking about is systems and processes that I have done over the years, which has led me, to the point where we are now in my career. But on those social media, go through and look at people's posts and comment on them. Make sure they're seeing you and thinking of you. Blend your social media with business and personal. It's one of the things I just talked to my assistant about the other day. Like, hey, we have a ton of business on my social. We need to start doing more personal. And if you go through it, you'll see me in my mountain biking gear with a goofy helmet on. And it's like, hey, that's what I am, right? So don't be afraid to show who you are on social media. I'm not in agreement of like, I hold very professional, I guess, my opinion of who we are as agents. So I'm not on social media putting curse words out there and saying, I try to stay very neutral when it comes to everything going on. So coronavirus, we kept updates and stuff like that. But as far as my personal opinion of the virus and of even right now, all the riots, I keep that off social media because I don't believe that that's just a personal thing. I mean, you guys can do what you want, but I believe that my social platform isn't so people hear my political voice, right? Like that can be done elsewhere. I tend to keep it to personal things and business on social, but it's free. So when we talk about that too, let's talk about video. Most people are so afraid of like, oh, that video is horrible or this and that. And I can't send video because I don't video well. It's your face. They see it every day. Doesn't matter if that's who you are, right? Like, oh, I can analyze and critique myself like, oh, in that video, my eye was squinty and my this and that. Doesn't matter. When people are talking to me, that's what they see. So when we talk about keeping in touch with people, oftentimes you're like, ooh, where did they go, right? Like what is happening here? I've been reaching out to you and it's nothing. So you're looking like this, like, are we in the middle of this desert and nobody is there? What, am I this ball flying through the air? Does anybody see me? And it's tough because you are reaching out. What you don't want to do is put a blow up text chain, something of 1 minute after the next, then you're going, hey, are you there? Are you there? Hey, hi, it's me. The people are like, whoa, calm down. So you don't want to do the extreme. They don't want to hear from you, but you don't want to blow them up. What you should be doing, you can find some funny ways to, send a text with some little crickets and say, hey guys, I'm here. Did you get my text, right? Sometimes we send a text and you know that they're there and all of a sudden they're not responding again, right? Like, hey, you texted me, I responded, you're gone. Did you die? So there's kind of that happy medium. One of the things I love to do is I literally pick up my phone, go to a text, video me, hey, hi, it's Torie, not trying to stalk you, just wanted you to know I've been trying to reach you, and send that video. Text video gets responses. They'll laugh, they'll send you oh, I'm sorry, I've been busy. You basically want them to know that you're there without making it overwhelming. But video is something that people associate. If they've seen you on video, they associate in their brain, there's studies that prove this, that they have met you. So many times when I'm talking to a client and I've sent video to them through Boomtown, we use BombBomb, which integrates into Boomtown, or I'll send a text. They'll say to me, oh yeah, when we talked or when we met last, and I think, oh, I've never physically met this person, but they're associating that they've met me because they've seen me on video. So videos are super powerful. If you don't have BombBomb, look into them. You can also, like I said, it integrates into CRMs. I know into Boomtown. I don't know what other ones it does, but videos are very powerful. And that's the thing too, is you don't have to pick it up to say, hey, I can't reach you. You can say, hey guys, just wanted to see how you're doing. If I have a closing, I update my clients throughout the day of that closing. Okay, the lender just sent the wire. All right, the wire hit. They're getting text. And I tell them that. That's what they've come to expect. Throughout the day, you're going to get these texts. When it closes, obviously, I pick up the phone to call them. Oh my gosh, congratulations, or whatever it is. First-time home buyer, it doesn't matter. Congratulations, you now own a home in Arizona. Or I just sold your home. Congratulations, you don't own a home anymore. You're free to move. So When I do that though, if I call and it goes to voicemail, I'm not going to leave that on voicemail. I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to send a video. And it's raw, it is what it is, but people love video. I cannot stress enough the importance of video. So staying in front of people, keeping your calls in. So when we talk about calls, my agents minimum, I like to see them on the phone 10 hours a week, minimum. During those hours of calls, who are you calling? You should have, there's daily, I have a whole list of people that they call, to where you should be calling your sphere. You should be reaching out to your power partners. You should be calling anything that moves your business forward, whether it's education, again, getting the data, having the facts, and talking to people about that. One of the things that most people, if you know, they're going to ask you, how is the market doing? You can dig a little deeper, right? The quick response is the market's crazy right now. If properties are priced well, most of them are going with multiple offers. There's things you can talk about, but what is somebody asking you, really? So a lot of times when somebody will ask me, how's the market right now? I say, well, when you're referring to the market, are you asking me where the prices are? What do you mean? And I want to dig a little deeper with them, but it's having those conversations, being on the phone and talking to people, getting them talking to you. Again, you're going to be able to then take those notes that you made on the calls and update your CRM. So 2 hours a week. If you don't have a huge, reason to call a bunch of people, then get lists from your title company and cold call. I know everybody's afraid of cold calling, but the thing is that depending on your volume of business that you want, if you're not with a team or you're not buying leads and a team's not giving you leads and you don't have enough business, then you need to build that business. And the way to do that is through conversations. At the end of the day, real estate is a big numbers game. The more conversations you have, the more opportunities you have to convert. The more you convert, the more you're going to get clients at close. It's a numbers game. You've got to stay on top of it. Are there any questions on this portion of it? Are we good? If you guys have any questions on follow-up or anything we've talked about so far before I move on to negotiation?
Hey, Torie, I do. This is Carol Murray.
Okay.
And I am brand spanking new to this business. And so you referenced getting lists from the title company. Is that a viable option to gain leads from? I'm not sure where to start.
The list from title. So first, what I would encourage you to do as a brand new agent, you need to find a mentor. I started this career a long time ago. I know I look so young, you wouldn't believe that. I'm just kidding. But I started a long time ago, and I literally was thrown into real estate. Like, I had no mentor, I had nothing. One of the things that I find the most helpful for my agents that are brand new is finding a mentor. And I know that at my home group, even if you're not on a team, they have so many resources that basically will give you that mentorship within the company. It's one of the things, why do I not start my own thing? Why don't I hang my license somewhere else? Because I truly believe that my home group as a broker and as a company are one of the best places you could be. So look into some of the resources there, but get a mentor. And when I'm referring to lists from the title company, they're able to provide you specified lists. I use lawyers, and my rep is Chris. He's amazing. And I've been through a few reps. The thing is, these are my power partners, right? These are my relationships that I rely on for many things. So when I'm needing somebody from a title company, there's specific things that I need from them. And if they can't produce that, you change it. So it's a relationship that you have to have, like a great relationship with them, much like you would any relationship. It doesn't fit, find someone else. There's plenty of them out there. But with that, I can tell Chris, like, hey, I need a list of people in this zip code or in this neighborhood that have owned their homes for at least 3 years, that have at least 30% or more equity. Whatever the numbers you want to give. If you're starting a farm, that's another, like any pillar of business for yourself. So you have your sphere, if you're going to do a farm, if you're going to cold call, if you're going to do open houses. Successful agents, you need to have at least 10 to 15 sources and pillars that drive your business. So you can get as specific as you'd like. Like I said, if you're going to farm, you could have them pull that neighborhood list. You could do pop buys. You have to saturate, if you are building a farm, you have to saturate them to know who you are. They're not even going to recognize that you're a neighborhood expert for at least 6 months minimum, but you can't give up on it. So there's a lot of pillars that you can lead to your business, but title is one of them. If you haven't matched up to a good title rep, definitely find someone, interview. I know, again, my home group, that's where they're amazing. they absolutely will hook you up with some of the power partners that they've paired with. And again, interview them, tell them, I'm new, this is what I need. Don't be afraid to tell someone who's there to help you what you need, because they're not going to guess, they can't read your mind, and you may not know what you need, but you tell them, I'm new and I really am looking for some sources of business. Did that answer?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Great. Okay. Yeah. And I think Kelly is letting you know, Carol, that she can put you in touch with lawyers or a rep. So just again, I'm not saying I endorse one company. I'm saying I use a company that fits for my personality and a rep that fits for my personality, right? Because some title agents, I eat them alive. Like I just had an escrow title company, and I'm like, you are the worst title company I've ever had. I would never sell you business. And my title company knows what I expect. Like the day of closing, they're on a strict schedule with me. I get texts all day long. They know I want to be the first to know. It's my client. I want to know first before anyone else when the lender sends the wire. Then I want to know when the wire hits. Then I want to know when it's released to record, and obviously then when we're recorded. So yeah, and then we shared, sorry, on an unrelated note, my assistant just let me know, we shared the Miracle Morning link.
Oh, okay. Awesome. I think I lost her.
Unfortunately, they're like 9 a.m. 9 a.m. To me is too late. Like it's just 9 a.m. I have half accomplished. But either way, and I would. Is the internet stable again? Sorry, guys.
Torie, one of the things that I don't know if you can hear me, but while you're talking, I've noticed about the clients that you've used or the clients that you in your database is you do not discriminate. Like you have the most random set of clients. And I think that says a lot about your personality, because you will sell everything from like multi-million-dollar homes to, like lower end homes. And I think that says a lot about how you work with your database. And
Okay,
one
guys,
of the
give me 1
compliments
second.
that
Are we back?
and I think one of the compliments that you've received is, Kelly, can you hear me?
Hang on, guys. We had
Kelly,
technical
I can hear
issues.
you, but Torie doesn't. Not.
Can
Okay.
everybody see me again?
I'm going to ignore Torie and just talk.
Oh,
One of the compliments that I think is huge is that, so Torie and I use the same house cleaner, and her house cleaner goes on and on and on about how she would refer her to any of her friends, and it's all about her negotiation. So I think when Torie like looks at her database, and I work with a ton of agents, one of the things that's so important is Torie doesn't care if you're buying $100,000 house or a $3 million house. She treats them exactly the same. And I think that that's a huge testament to her business model, is she has that respect for everybody, no matter what kind of house they're buying.
Thank you, Shelley.
So I don't know if she heard what I was saying, but I'll tell her what I said later.
I did. Can you guys hear me again?
Yes.
Okay, I did. Shelley, thank you. It means a lot to me. Especially coming from somebody who works with so many agents, and Shelley does a phenomenal job. I came to Shelley after selling. I put a home warranty on all of my clients. So quick testimonial, all of my clients get a home warranty. If the seller won't pay for it, I pay for it. Are you sure I'm good? Yeah. Okay. So let me just get this big again, guys. Sorry, we lost signal there for a hot minute. Sorry about that. So are we good? Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. All right. So I had another home warranty company that I used for, again, every closing. And I did a lot of real estate. And I never hear from this lady. And I couldn't get in touch. If my clients have a problem, I want someone to answer their phone and handle it with me. So after a couple years, it's been about a year or more that I called Shelley, and this was through my home group. I said, who do you guys use? And they said, OneGuard. And I can tell you guys that having, again, another power partner, that anytime I've had an issue, they've been amazing. So if you're looking for a home warranty company and you are new, I would definitely reach out to Shelly's team. I know she's got a whole team of reps too, but they have been phenomenal. And it all goes down to that power partner on all aspects, right? Just like title, having an amazing lender, it's all these things that keep you strong. I used to say when I was a solo agent years ago, before I opened my first company, I'd say, man, I sound like I'm so strong, but it's because all the legs under me are all of the people that keep me on that solid foundation, which was my inspectors, my title company, my lenders, everybody that, could make me a powerhouse on the backside. And everything I did on the front side, it's all for naught if you don't have people that can get the closing happening, like lenders and title and such. So that's, I think, good on the questions there. If there's any other, we'll pop them up. We're going to move on to negotiating. Let's hope we don't lose our signal again. That's the fun of Zoom. So one of the things I'm going to talk about with negotiating is you have got to know the data, right? How can you negotiate not knowing the market that you're up against? So if you're writing a contract and you're going to present your offer to the seller or to the listing agent, how are you going to present that offer if you don't know the market? And the reverse is, when I list a property, how am I going to convince a seller to take the price that I'm suggesting unless I have data? So being a market expert, knowing the data and knowing the numbers, you've got to do that. Like study. Basketball players don't go into a game without practicing the game 100 times over. So what you want to do is know your facts, know the data, be ready for it, and then you're going to start the negotiation process. One of the things I find interesting is when I'm the listing agent, I'll get buyer's agents, they'll shoot me a contract in an email and I'll maybe get a text, oh, I just sent you an offer on X. Okay, as a listing agent, my thought is, are you embarrassed of the offer and that's why you sent it over like it's some dirty little letter and you're not going to call me and present it to me? If you talk about selling, we don't sell clients. You can't push a home to them, right? But I sell the offers. So when I make an offer, I'm going to call that listing agent as a buyer's agent. I'm going to say, I'm going to be sending you an offer. I wanted to go over that contract with you and tell you where my buyer is coming from. And I'm going to sell that offer and present that offer to them. Now, obviously, if you're going up against multiples, there's sometimes, you can't get crazy on negotiations. You're paying above, you're waiving inspections, whatever it is. But you can still sell yourself and your buyer to that listing agent. I did 2 properties last week where we had multiple offers, anywhere from 7 to 9 offers on each of them. The agents that I definitely stood out in my book were the ones that called me and presented their clients, because I know that a strong agent is going to get that file to closing. And so first and foremost, if you know the market, and if you are coming in lower than maybe your clients, and you look at the data and you're like, there's just not numbers here to support it, you want to be able to present why. It's the same thing I do with my listings. And see, somebody says, well, where'd you get that price? Oh, you know what? I've got those comps. I'm happy to send those to you. And I've also got an appraisal package that I prepared that I'll email over to you. All of a sudden, I've taken control of that negotiation. And they're not going to say, well, the property value isn't there, because I wouldn't price it there if it wasn't. And I've got the data to prove it. So be a market expert, know your market, know the numbers, research, present your offers. And on whatever side of the coin you're on, you want to be able to confidently say, this is why I arrived at this number. And if a client comes to you and says, hey, this property was just listed, I want to go in 20,000 under, and you know that that's ridiculous, how are you going to negotiate your clients to do what's appropriate on the offer? By educating them. So I'm going to sit my client down. I'm going to say, I can appreciate that. And I know this is, you haven't bought a home in Arizona here lately. Let's go over what the market is doing right now today in that neighborhood so I can show you. When I send comps, I'm not sending a one-line black and white comp, a CMA. I'm not doing that. I'm sending all the properties that fit the criteria that an appraiser is going to look at. And I tell my clients what that is. So we're looking at the last 6 months, 20% variance on square footage, similar properties, meaning I'm not going to comp a townhome to a single family. They're 2 stories, you have less value than a single story. So I go over these facts and we talk about the comps, and I send them one by one, all the properties in an email link that we can then discuss those properties specifically. Typically I can get a buyer to the point where they realize, yep, you're right, let's go in at this, and we get the offer done. But I wouldn't do that without data, right? I wouldn't just say to the buyer, well, that's a ridiculous price. That's my opinion. Why is it ridiculous? That's an opinion. But data is going to make me an expert and show that person why it's a ridiculous offer without you saying it. The other thing when you're negotiating, find out what's important to the parties. All too often, I think that people just dive in. Oh, good. You want to write an offer? Great. Let's write the offer. Okay. I'm going up against multiples. Is it seller occupied? Is it vacant? I'm going to find out the facts and find out what could put me above the other offers other than me pitching it, having my lender call them, all of these things. What else can I find out? Oh, it's vacant. A quick close would be good. My lender can close in 3 weeks, sometimes sooner. Anything that's going to make my offer stand out and make my buyer the one that they choose. And I'm telling you guys, it's not always price. I had a deal not too long ago. We were 1,000 under the highest price and we got the deal. And it was because of the things that I presented to them. And the agent said to me, I know for a fact after talking to you the last few days, you're going to get this file to closing. These other agents, I'm not confident of that. So it's not always price. It's not always dollar. Maybe for some sellers it is, but not always. So when you're doing that, find out what matters. This is my favorite subject. On listings, sorry, somebody just asked if I recommend an appraiser. It really depends on the property. If I know that we're drastically pushing the market and I'm concerned heavily that we're not going to be able to get there and my seller is just bent on the fact that that's the number, then yes, I would. But each property is specific. I go at each client, again, specific to the client. I have a process and a system of how we do things, but also you have to adapt that to the clients individually. And have an appraiser on hand too, if you do need one that you can call. And I know we've got a great one, and I know that I'm sure my home group has some that they can recommend. So one of the phrases that I love is drama, no drama, data over drama, right? I had a boat and I named it No Drama because I cannot stand the drama. So data, data, data over drama. If I get involved in a negotiation and my emotions get in place, I have negated everything that I'm supposed to be doing for my client. My client should rely on the fact that I am a non-emotional party to this transaction and I am representing them. So too often I'll present an offer and literally the other agent is like, oh my God, I can't believe. And instantly I'm thinking, okay, first of all, you're not the seller. You haven't even discussed this with the seller, and they'll cut you off and then they'll overtalk and I'll just be quiet and I wait and I'll say, okay, now can I finish presenting? Because I'd like to fully present my client's, offer and why we're coming in here. I had one last week that the agent did the same thing. She literally said, my client won't do that. And I said, did you discuss that with your client? She said, I just know he won't. And I said, okay, well, this is a cash offer and we can close it in 10 days. Are you sure? And she said, well, I don't know. And I said, if you could just do me a favor and present the facts to your client, I would appreciate it. And let me know. We got the offer accepted. We're closing this week. So to get so emotional and up in arms, there's no call for it. Oftentimes my agents will hear me say this, you should be the non-emotional, always factor in this equation. A buyer's emotional, it's their new home. A seller's emotional, they're low, even if they're an investor, it's their home, it's their money. There's always emotions tied when you're making decisions around properties like this. You should not be emotional. You should be the facts and the data, the voice of reason, the voice of calm, because you're the one that's steering the ship. If your clients are steering the ship, it's going to go off course. You should be the one in control of this process the entire time. Again, educating, informing, and being that data person. But keep the emotions out of it. Why? I mean, you guys, it's not going to bode well. If you and the other agent can play nice in the sandbox, the transaction's going to go much smoother. But you should each be playing nice by representing your clients and, again, keeping it to what's important. And then communication and confidence. So confidence, guys, when I present an offer, I've talked about that, right? I'm going to go in there strong. I'm sure there's not one of you on here would say, hey, call me and present an offer, and you're worried that I wouldn't confidently do so, right? I'm going to come at this with confidence because I've done my research and I know the numbers I'm presenting and I know why I'm presenting them. Does it take extra time to do it? Absolutely. But what sets you apart from other agents? My podcast this week, that's exactly what I talk about. Why me over the other agent, whether it be to a client or the agent that I'm presenting to? Confidently, I know I can get this file to closing, and here's why. My clients have had the discussion with me from the beginning. What is an inspection for? What are we looking for? Does it mean that every little tiny ding that maybe a handyman can do for $20, we're going to ask them? No. But I have that discussion with the client. I know what's important to my client, and we move forward with that. And then communication. Nobody, again, we go back to what we talked about when you're prospecting, right, with your clients. It's staying in front of people. Nobody wants you to go silent. Silence is deadly when you're dealing with transactions and your clients. They want to know what's going on. If you have a listing, you should be talking to them weekly. They shouldn't have to call you. If a showing happens, communicate that. Let them know, hey, I'm actively going to get feedback for you. But communication in all parties involved. Keep everybody informed. I have a transaction manager. It's her full-time job to make sure that all of our paperwork is handled and that everybody is in the loop at all times. Communication is everything. If I'm the listing agent and I never hear from the buyer's agent, I get concerned. So I just want to know that everything's going along and that I'm communicating and negotiating this whole thing through the process. Because even once you get the offer accepted, you've got to negotiate the inspections, and then you also may have to negotiate the appraisal. At the end of the day, who's the most important people in that transaction? It's the buyer and the seller. So you can give data, you can give all the facts, but at the end of the day, what does the buyer want? What does the seller want? And it's getting them to that mutual agreement and a happy place for both, right? And you can't do that if you're emotionally tied to it. You can't be thinking, man, I calculated my commission and this is going to close this date and I got that check coming. Your commission is an afterthought. If you do everything right, if you follow the step, if you follow the process and you take care of your clients, the commission is going to do itself. It's going to be there. But you cannot upfront look at the commission and go, oh, I've got this deal coming and this is the commission. Because if you focused on that, you're focusing on the wrong thing and that file won't close. You've got to stay focused on your principal, which is your client, and getting that deal. And again, at the end of the day, you know, I have buyers will tell me, well, I think they should accept this price. And I say, I agree. The data shows us they should. But at the end of the day, the seller has a number that they're willing to accept right now with today's market. Now, if they stay on the market and the market tells them you're overpriced, they're absolutely going to listen at some point. They have to, otherwise they're not going to sell their home. But having that educated discussion with them, and again, knowing that at the end of the day, and I tell my clients, I can't force a seller to take that price, but I can present the data to the agent and I can show them why we're coming in here, which I do. Did I get a question? Okay, sorry. Thought we had a question. We've got about 15 minutes. What I'd like to do, give me 1 second, guys. Sorry, I've got a client that's closing. Let him know as soon as they respond, I'll let him know. So that's the other thing, like to take an hour out of my day, I do it. But my clients also know that they're so used to me being responsive immediately on text, email. And I always tell my clients, if I don't respond, it's because I'm with someone. The minute I'm not, I will respond immediately. So responsiveness is huge, but we've got about 15 minutes. Is there any questions you guys have specifically I can go over for you guys? I like to, that's one of the things with these classes. I like that we can make them interactive, because although I've covered all this, you guys may have a specific thing that you're challenged with or question that you have. Is this up to date? Because I'm seeing one. Is there, you guys have anything you want me to cover? We've got about 15 minutes to go over things. And listen, if you have a question, it's not a dumb question, right? Like if there's anything you're thinking, nobody's going to go, oh man, having education and knowing things is everything, like the education and the data. So don't be afraid to ask if you're like, oh, I'm maybe new and I don't know, is this a silly question? Okay, so taking the emotion out of that's a question we had, taking the emotion out of this. This isn't you personally, okay? That's why it's hard when a buyer is a realtor and they're representing themselves on a transaction, whether they're the listing agent or they're buying a home. That's the hardest thing to do, is separate themselves out from this transaction. Outside of that, this is not your home. This is your client and their goals are most important. So you have to find out. That's one of the first things I talk to a client about. I don't ask them how many bedrooms, how many baths they're looking for. I talk about their goals, what their lifestyle is, what they're looking for. What can I do to help you get to that end result? What is that goal? And then that's my number one thing is it's not an emotional thing. It's my job to do exactly what I promised this client I would do and get them to their end result, which is they're, buying a home or they're selling a home or whatever that is. There should be no emotions other than I am hired to do the very best I can. And every day throughout the day, my clients are relying on me and expecting me to protect them because that's what I've promised I'm going to do for them from the beginning. So the only emotion should be that you're hell-bent on yourself that you're going to do what you promised these clients you would do for them. Okay, limited representation. I love this question. I do a lot of dual representation. On my team, I do have other agents, right? So the very first thing that I offer a client is, listen, if you are not comfortable with me representing both parties, then I will absolutely bring in one of my agents and they will represent XYZ, whether it's a buyer or the seller, and I will represent you. I've never had a client say that they weren't comfortable, okay? But here's why. Because I tell them right up front what dual representation is. And I do believe you can successfully do it if you do it right. You have to protect the information that, obviously, if something is a private information, you still have to protect that. But at the end of the day, what did we talk about before? This is all about the buyer and the seller and bringing them to a mutual point. There should be no reason that you cannot draft a contract, show the data. Again, it's not an opinion. Show the data to the buyer, have the buyer say, yep, this is what I want. Then you write that out and then you bring that to the seller. You say, I shared these comps as you've already done because it's your listing or vice versa, whatever it is, right? I've already done this with you. We've already looked at these comps. I shared these same comps with the buyer. This is what their offer is. And then we discuss that offer and I break down and I have the app from Lawyer's Title that I give them a net sheet and I say, here's your net. These are the terms of the offer. If there's concessions, I explain that. I explain that basically we need to look as a seller as a net offer. And then I bring the two parties together. And I make sure that when you're doing dual representation, you better make sure that your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted properly because obviously it holds more liability. Transaction management is huge on every file, but definitely on dual representation, make sure both parties understand upfront what's happening and then get them to agree to that before you proceed with the negotiations. Let me check some questions, guys. Okay. Multiple offer strategies. I'm trying to get to each question at a time. So multiple offer, oh, hang on, I touched the phone. Multiple offers. I literally break down each offer and then I have a sheet. Like this time when I had 7, I had columns, and in each column I'm writing the specific terms of the offer with essentially the net down at the bottom. And then I present that to my clients. I've had clients in the past want to visually, some people are visual. I then will type that out in an email exactly like I've written in front of me and I send it to them. And I go over with them what each offer looks like. And then we discuss like, hey, I know, like, for instance, this last transaction that I did, they asked me, okay, here's your net. And then I tell them, this one agent I've done a deal with, and he's very strong. I know he'll get this file to close. Okay, great. So that was just another, again, fact, right? But then I give them all the numbers. And then ultimately the seller makes the decision on that one. I hope I answered that for you guys. Okay, give me 1 second. So limited dual representation that was asked again, you get that limited dual representation form. If you're not associated, if it's just because you're under the My Home Group umbrella, that's what I explain to my clients. Guys, My Home Group has close to 3,000 agents. Basically, as an agent, we fall under one umbrella, which is the broker's umbrella. So even though this company or this agent works for my company, I don't have any one-on-one with them. Now, when it's my team, I explain it that way as well. But I just explained that we fall under one umbrella and that because our broker, we work under one broker, it is a dual representation, but that agent is representing the buyer completely and I'm representing you as a seller completely. We don't have any interaction. And then let's see. Yeah, so this is a great question, guys. It just states that, they've had agents lowball because of COVID. They explain the data, the prices are dropping. How do you keep the buyer engaged that are not data oriented? So here's what I do. At the end of the day, I think if you present all the numbers to them, and I did a weekly series, which we're still continuing to follow what active, pending, and sold is happening on a weekly basis in MLS. We pull it. You can do that specific to their neighborhood. You can also pull the Cromford report data. So if you prove data with them and you need additional sources, pull things like Cromford, but I bring as much data as I can. And then I would set that all in front of them and I've said, hey, I've sent you all the data. Here's what's happened over the last month by week basis in this neighborhood, active, pending, and sold. I think it was 27%. We don't have the May numbers yet, but 27% of properties in April sold above list price. So get data like that. As soon as we have the May numbers, I'll be quoting that percentage. I take all that data to them. And then once I've done that, I ask them, after looking that over, what do you feel? What are your opinions of everything I've sent you? And I let them tell me. 9 times out of 10, hopefully they get to the point where they're saying, you're right, the market is showing X, right? But if they say, no, I still think the market's going to crash, I say, you know what, that is 100% your decision. I'm going to keep you updated with properties, but do keep in mind that if you look at even the interest rates and what they're projecting, that a year from now, if the properties, if we stay at this growth rate and the interest rates do go up, let me give you a scenario of what that will look like for your qualification. Just keep that in mind, because as you watch these properties monthly, if you're seeing them continue to go up in price and you're seeing the inventory stays low, and then you start to see rates go up, you may want to make a decision sooner rather than later. But just giving them that picture of what it looks like if the market was to increase by X% and the interest rates went up, this is what you'd qualify for with your current position, and this is what your payment would be. Give me 1 second. Weekly Real Estate Tips with Torie is my podcast. And I do a video series with it. And we put a link in there. #1 source of leads, paid or organic. I do a blend. I believe lead flow should be just like an investment where you're diversifying, right? So I do pay for leads. We're a premier agent with Zillow. Again, just because I do it, I'm not saying it's the best source. When they went to the Flex program, we were hit pretty hard. But either way, I diversify. So I have Google pay-per-click, I have Zillow, I have Sphere, and I do think like our Sphere makes up probably 60% or better. Some of my agents run in the 80%. Wes is on this. He runs in the 80% with his Sphere. But when Wes came to me, again, that was a process. So many agents don't realize that there's a system and a process out there. And if you follow that system and process, there's no way you can fail. There's no way you can't increase your business. So Wes is a great example. He came on board. He was by everybody's sites. He was an amazing agent. He was doing very well. But we've doubled his volume since he's come on board simply by taking a system and a process to his daily approach. Do we have any other? We've got a few more minutes. Are there any other questions? If I answered your question not fully, let me know. I do, so my agents, somebody just asked if I offered coaching. I do offer all of my agents coaching, but I have been asked if I would do that on a side, which is something that I'm definitely considering. There's a couple of platforms in my path that I've considered coaching, and I've also considered starting to speak on a more on a bigger scale. Just as agents, I think that there's so much more, right, that's behind who we are as a person. And as my agents are coached by me, they get to know me. I've been through a lot of things in life. And I think that, one of the challenges we face is that this career, I have a passion for it. I wake up every day, guys, excited. Like, this is my career. This is not a job for me. But within that day, it can beat you up. Like, there's days where I'm like, oh, I'm just having one of those real estate days. And really what that means is when my agents will come to me too, and they're like, oh my God, this happened and this happened and this happened. I'll chuckle and say, oh, so you're having a real estate day, right? And this career can really strip a lot from you. But it's having that drive behind who we are that we wake up and go, nothing is going to stop me today. I've got all this set out before me and I'm going to make this happen. So yes, I have considered coaching on the side and also talking about speaking in different formats too. Somebody just asked about the highest and best in a multiple offer scenario. I see it out there, and again, I'm going to answer this where it's specific to the client. Both the multiples we did this week, I did call them and say, hey, we've got multiple offers. If you'd like to revise your offer, please do so. We'll be making a decision tomorrow. But both situations had, one of them, to give you an example, it had a escalation clause with no maximum price. It had a $10,000 appraisal protection. It was a VA loan, so by all purposes there, it really wasn't the best as far as that goes. But I spoke with the lender, and this woman had money. So it wasn't a matter of her not having the funds. She was going VA for other purposes, but I got the full details, presented those to my clients. So in both of those scenarios, we picked the offer that my client was most comfortable with, and that presented the best. Are there times for a multiple call for highest and best? Sure, I'm sure there are. But I think you've got to look at what's in front of you and determine what's the best scenario for your client. And then again, I give my client that option. I tell them what their options are, and we make a decision based on, an informed decision based on all the facts. Listing presentations, gosh, I could probably do a class on that. You'd probably laugh if you saw that I don't sit down with a computer and do a full presentation. Why is somebody going to hire me for me and what I do differently? So I go in and I meet with them, and it's different every time. Yesterday I did a listing presentation. I was there about 35 minutes and we just talked. We stood in the kitchen most of the time. Other times I'll sit with the people. It just depends on the client, but basically I'm going to tell them who I am, what I'm about, what I do differently, and why me versus someone else. And usually if I get in front of someone, I'm going to win that. And I don't need a sit down presentation to do so. I do have some, can you get in the trifolds? Let me just show you. So I do have a couple things. So like I don't believe in bombarding people with the same thing that everybody's bringing, but I'll have like a trifold for if I'm meeting a buyer in the field, or if I just want to leave somebody with who I am. This is what I bring to sellers. And it's just a very nice layout of who we are, what we do. And it's got my information on the back. So I don't bring a full packet. I bring this. And then the other thing I do with buyers and sellers is I provide them a copy of the contract. I'm going to send it electronically. Typically, I'll send it printed. We have some books that have all of that in it. And I'm going to talk about the fact that that contract needs to be reviewed. At a listing, I'm going to talk about the things that convey. So you don't want to assume the seller knows that. They don't know what stays. They don't know what doesn't. And you definitely don't want to get to a property. I had a buyer, we got to the walkthrough and the seller had determined, oh, all of the TV mounts don't need to stay. Yes, they do. And when I called the agent, they said, oh, I thought the seller knew that. Not a good answer, right? Now, guess what? Either seller's bringing those back or what's going to happen? Commissionectomy. And that agent got to go buy new TV mounts and put them back because the seller was like, I'm not doing it. You didn't tell me. So prepare your clients for what's coming. Let them know so they're educated on the process. Anything else? I think we've got 2 minutes. All right, guys. Again, if you're looking to reach me, I'll give you my cell phone number is 602-824-2196. I'm not sure how long this chat stays, but Torie, Torie, at theellensteam.com, and all of my social platforms. Every Thursday we put out we have a video series. I'll do a mix of things. You'll even see one of my videos. I'm literally up in Flagstaff on a mountain bike talking to people. So I try to mix that up. This week we are doing, again, what sets us apart. You're talking 2 to 3 minutes. So it's not in depth. It's just really meant to put out there for clients and to follow up with them on a different format. Thank you guys so much. Kelly, thank you for having me. And again, if you guys need anything, I'm here. Look forward to chatting with you guys at some point. We are hiring. So I am looking for, we have 2 showing agents, which typically are newer agents that I'm trying to fill, and at least 1 to 2 seasoned agents. So if you guys are interested at all, I would love to talk with you. Again, 602-824-2196 is my cell. Anything else, you guys reach out. Have a great week. Go crush your day. You still got a lot of time left.
Thanks, Torie.
All right. Bye-bye.